The appeal was initially the potential for this idea of loss and longing being something that fuels the appearance or need to see ghosts, but also the opportunity to create something very complicated. Because I've come from television, and no doubt we'll do television again. It's quite nonetheless a short-lived thing, and I'll be careful how I describe this, but we're encouraged because of the schedules. It finishes, you switch over, boom, you're onto something else, the news or whatever. It's not the sort of medium, television isn't the sort of medium that requires you to stop and talk and then drive home at the end and all that. So I saw this as an opportunity to build something very complicated. When I was making Florence the sort of person more that I liked, I only ever thought of Rebecca, and I didn't know her work hugely well. And because she's only about 10 or whatever, however old she is, she hadn't had this massive body of work, but what I'd seen her in, it was just startling. And she was in Waitagasso Sea for the BBC, and she was just startling in it. So I didn't quite have a picture of her next to my monitor, but I had her. Morning, Rebecca. I'm writing this for you, Rebecca. I didn't quite have a picture of her, but I certainly had her in mind. And when she agreed to meet about the script and we had lunch together, it was just absolute dream for me that she would be interested in it. And I know a lot of directors sit in things like this and say, "Oh, we only ever wanted to." No, genuinely. There was I wanted Dominic for Mallory, and there was another couple of guys who I'd have been very happy with. But for Maud and for Florence, it was Imelda and Rebecca. They were who I'd written it for. They were who I had in mind. The modernity we were both determined to work in, and there's pictures we found of Katharine Hepburn and progressive people like that who we decided to build that in, and Rebecca was very much part of with Caroline Harris, the costume designer, very much part of the three of us developing the way Florence would dress, to just tinker with the modernity of her a little bit. So you felt that actually Florence is what women will become. 10 years after this film the story finishes, that's where women will be, mid-30s. That's where we're sort of aiming in terms of the self-confidence and individuality. John Henson and I, the designer, wanted this sense of, and Edu Grau, the director of photography, wanted this sense that the world was ill. The green verdant countryside of a Britain in summer was sick. It isn't green. It's slightly off green. It's a bit blue. It's a bit ill, and the country is in pain, and so the misrepresentation of colour all the way through it, and the sapping of colour, the desaturation of the colour of the normal world, was all key to getting a sense that these are people who are missing things. They are lost and lacking. All the way through the film, I tried to bring not what you would expect. You think a scene is about one thing and suddenly she's smacked in the face in the street. You think a scene is about another thing and suddenly you think she's decided one thing and suddenly she's on the way to the school. You think the scene's about Mallory talking with Florence in the car and suddenly children run out in front of her. That there's constantly a run of surprises, that your eyes just end up almost in an investigative way, trying to unpick where this is going, what's relevant, who is behind this, and for that continued set of surprises to leave you give up trying to guess the next thing. You just roll with it and you just enjoy the journey.